The repairs took 3 days. During that time, the humans insisted that the Villani crew stay on the orbital station called Baekdu. They said it was for safety. They said the crew needed rest. Rena suspected they also wanted to study the aliens who had fallen into their system. She could not blame them. She wanted to study the humans' 2-dot station. Baekdu was impressive. It hung in orbit above the Earth like a great metal flower, its petals spreading outward to catch the light of the sun. Hundreds of humans lived and worked there, and they went about their days as if having aliens on their station was completely normal. Perhaps it was normal for them. Rena did not know. The humans gave the Villani crew a section of the station for themselves. The rooms were comfortable with soft beds and warm air. The food was strange but edible. And everywhere they went, humans smiled at them and asked if they needed anything. It was very confusing. On the second day, Taiho came to check on the crew. He had become the unofficial medical officer for the Villani, and he took his job very seriously. He examined each crew member carefully, taking notes on his small electronic device. "Your biology is fascinating," he told Rena as he checked her vital signs. "You do not sleep like we do. How do you rest?" "We enter low consciousness cycles," Rena explained. "Our minds slow down, but we remain aware of our surroundings. It lasts perhaps 2 hours at a time." Taiho's eyes went wide. 2 hours? That is all? How long do humans sleep? 8 hours. Sometimes more, if we are very tired. Rena could not believe what she was hearing. You become unconscious for 8 hours? Every day? You are completely helpless for 1/3 of your existence. Yes, yes. Taiho smiled at her shock. I know. It is strange when you think about it. We are basically defenseless every night. But we cannot function without sleep. If we do not sleep for too long, we start to see things that are not there. Our minds break down. Rena thought about this. A species that shut down completely for 8 hours every day. A species that would go insane without this shutdown. And yet they had built space stations. They had created technology that improved Villani engines. They had traveled to other worlds. How? She asked. How have you achieved so much when you spend so much time unconscious? Taiho laughed. Coffee, he said. The answer is coffee. Rena did not know this word. Her translator offered no clear meaning. What is coffee? Before Taiho could answer, a young human female appeared in the doorway. She had a round face and bright eyes, and she carried a tray with several cups of dark liquid. Did someone say coffee? She asked cheerfully. I am Jiwoo. I work in supply management. I heard we had guests, and I thought you might want to try our most important cultural tradition. She set the tray down and offered a cup to Rena. The liquid inside was very dark, almost black. Steam rose from its surface, and it had a strong, bitter smell. This is coffee, Jiwoo explained. We make it from beans that grow on plants. We roast the beans, grind them up, and pour hot water through them. Humans drink it every morning. Some of us drink it all day. Rena took the cup carefully. The heat was pleasant against her hands. She raised it to her mouth and took a small sip. The effect was immediate. Her 4 hearts began to beat faster. Her vision became sharper. Her thoughts, which had been slow and tired, suddenly raced with new energy. She felt like she had been sleeping her entire life and had just now woken up. What is this? She gasped. Caffeine, Taiho said, watching her reaction with amusement. It is a stimulant. It affects the nervous system, increases alertness, improves focus. Humans are basically addicted to it. Rena looked at the cup in her hands. This would be classified as a controlled substance in 12 star systems I know of. You drink this every morning? For pleasure? Several times a day, Jiwoo confirmed. Want more? Rena should have said no. She was a captain. She needed to be responsible. She needed to set an example for her crew. Yes, she said. Please. Over the next few hours, the Vellani crew discovered the miracle of coffee. The engineers, who had been exhausted from the stress of the journey, suddenly found new energy to help with the repairs. The medical staff, who had been worried about their injured colleagues, felt their anxiety fade into sharp focus. Even old Korath, who rarely showed emotion, was seen smiling after his third cup. Jiwoo watched them all with satisfaction. I knew you would like it, she said. Everyone likes coffee eventually. Rena sat with Jiwoo and Taiho in the station's common area, looking out a large window at the earth below. The planet was beautiful, covered in blue water and white clouds. She could see the shapes of continents, green and brown against the ocean. Your world is lovely, Rena said. Thank you. Jiwoo's voice was soft. We have not always taken good care of it, but we are learning. Tell me about your people, Rena asked. The reports I read said you were aggressive, dangerous, but you have shown us only kindness. Taihao and Jiwoo exchanged a look. It was a complicated look, full of meanings Rena could not read. We are both things, Taiho said finally. Humans can be very kind. We can also be very cruel. Our history is full of war and violence. We have hurt each other in terrible ways. But we have also helped each other, Jiwoo added. When disasters happen, humans from all over the world come to help. When someone is in danger, strangers will risk their lives to save them. We are capable of great evil and great good. We choose which one to be. Rena considered this, and you chose to help us. Why? Because you needed help, Jiwoo said simply. And because we could give it. Taiho nodded. Also, we like meeting new species. You are the first aliens to visit our system. Well, the first friendly ones. We have had some others who were not so nice. Rena felt her antennae rise in interest. Others? What others? But before Taiho could answer, an alarm began to sound throughout the station. Red lights flashed. Humans began to move quickly, their faces serious. Jiwoo checked her communication device. Her expression changed. Captain Rena, she said, the station commander wants to see you. It seems there is something important he needs to discuss. Rena set down her coffee cup. She had a feeling that her time with these strange, kind, coffee-drinking humans was about to become much more complicated. The ship was dying. Captain Rena could feel it in the way the walls shook, in the strange sounds the engine made, in the cold air that meant life support was failing. She stood on the bridge of the Wandering Star, her forearms gripping the command console, her compound eyes scanning the damage reports that filled every screen. 47 crew members. 47 lives depending on her next decision. Rena was a Vellani, a species that had traveled the stars for 3,000 years. Her people were traders and explorers, known across the galaxy for their honesty and their beautiful ships. But the Wandering Star was not beautiful anymore. A collision with space debris had torn through the hull, damaged the engine core, and killed the backup systems. They had enough air for maybe 2 days. Enough power for maybe less. Her second officer, a young Vellani named Korath, approached her station. His antennae were flat against his head, a sign of deep worry. Captain, I have found something. There is a system nearby. A planet with intelligent life. Rena looked at the star map he showed her. A small yellow star. 8 planets. The third one had radio signals coming from it. What species lives there? She asked. They call themselves humans. They are very young, Captain. They have only been in space for about 200 years. They are not members of any galactic alliance. Korath paused. The reports say they are aggressive, territorial. Some traders avoid their system completely. Rena closed her eyes. She thought about her crew, the engineers who had families waiting at home, the young workers who had joined the ship for adventure. The cook who made terrible food but always smiled. "Set a course," she said. "We have no choice." The wandering star limped toward the blue planet called Earth. Every hour, more systems failed. The lights flickered. The temperature dropped. Crew members wrapped themselves in blankets and waited. When they entered the system, Rena ordered the communication officer to send a distress signal. She expected silence. She expected to be ignored. Or worse, she expected weapons to be pointed at them. What happened next surprised her completely. Wandering Star, this is Korean Space Agency Orbital Station Baekdu. We have received your distress signal. Please confirm your situation. The voice was strange but clear. Rena responded quickly, explaining the damage, the failing life support, the crew in danger. There was a pause. Then the voice came back. Understood, Wandering Star. We are sending rescue and repair vessels to your location. Please do not be alarmed by their approach. Help is coming. Hold tight. Rena did not know what hold tight meant, but she understood the rest. She turned to Korath, who looked as confused as she felt. "They are coming to help us?" he asked. "Just like that?" "They do not even know us." "It seems so," Rena replied. Within 6 hours, 3 human ships arrived. They were not warships. They were covered in tools and equipment, with large mechanical arms extending from their sides. They moved carefully around the Wandering Star, scanning the damage without touching anything. Then a voice requested permission to dock. Rena granted it. The airlock opened, and for the first time in her life, Rena saw humans. They were strange creatures. Only 2 arms. Only 2 eyes. Soft skin and various shades of brown. They wore heavy suits with many pockets, and they carried tools she did not recognize. The leader of the group stepped forward. She was a young female with black hair pulled away from her face. Her eyes were dark and curious, and she smiled when she saw Rena. "Captain? I am Yuna, Chief Engineer of Repair Team 7. We are here to fix your ship." Rena did not know how to respond. In her experience, strangers did not simply offer to fix your ship. There was always a cost. Always a negotiation. "What do you want in return?" Rena asked tearfully. Yuna looked confused for a moment. Then she laughed. It was a strange sound, but not unpleasant. "Nothing right now. Your ship is in danger. Your people are in danger. We can talk about trade agreements later if you want. First, let us make sure nobody dies." She said it so simply, as if it was obvious. As if helping strangers was just something humans did. Yuna and her team moved through the ship like a storm. They examined the engine core and made worried sounds. They looked at the hull damage and made more worried sounds. They checked the life support system, and one of them said a word that Rena's translator could not process, but it seemed like a curse. "Your engine design is beautiful," Yuna said, running her hands over the damaged core. "Truly beautiful. But whoever built it made some interesting choices. You are losing plasma through at least 6 different seals. I am surprised you made it this far. Can you repair it?" Rena asked. Yuna grinned. It was a strange expression, showing teeth, but Rena was beginning to understand it meant happiness. "Repair it? Captain, when we are done, this engine will be better than new." The humans worked through the night. They did not stop to rest. They ate strange food from packages while they worked. They talked to each other constantly, sometimes arguing, sometimes laughing. More teams arrived from the station, bringing equipment and supplies. One human, a large male named Taiho, approached the Villani crew with medical supplies. He was gentle despite his size, and he treated their injuries with care, asking questions about their biology as he worked. "Your species has 4 hearts," he said with wonder. "That is incredible. If one fails, The others can compensate. Humans only have one heart. If it stops, we die. Rena stared at him. One heart? How have you survived as a species? Taiho laughed. We ask ourselves that question every day. By the time the local star rose over Earth again, the wandering star was transformed. The hull was patched with human materials that were stronger than the original. The life support was not just repaired but improved, with filters that Rena had never seen before. And the engine. Yuna stood beside Rena as they tested it. The power output was 30% higher than before. The plasma seals were perfect. The efficiency had doubled. What did you do? Rena whispered. Yuna shrugged. We made some small adjustments. I hope you do not mind. Your original design was good, but we found some ways to make it better. Rena turned to look at this human, this young female who had worked through the night to save strangers. In that moment, she realized that everything she had heard about humans was wrong. They were not aggressive. They were not territorial. They were something far more dangerous. They were kind. The station commander's office was at the top of Baekdu, in a section that looked out over the entire Earth. The walls were covered with screens showing data, maps, and images from across the planet. In the center of the room stood a large table with a holographic display of the solar system. The commander himself was a man named Doyen. He was older than the other humans Rena had met, with gray streaks in his black hair and lines on his face that spoke of many years of hard decisions. His eyes were calm and steady, and he stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Captain Rena, he said, nodding respectfully. Thank you for coming. Please, sit. Rena took a seat across from him. The alarm had stopped, but she could still feel tension in the air. What has happened? She asked. Donghyun touched the control on the table. The holographic display changed, showing a region of space far from Earth. Red markers appeared, dozens of them, moving slowly toward a distant star system. Our long-range sensors detected this about an hour ago, Doyen said. A fleet of ships moving in formation. They are still very far away, but they are heading in a direction that concerns us. Rena looked at the display. She recognized the formation. She recognized the ship designs. Her 4 hearts seemed to stop beating all at once. The Kreth Dominion, she whispered. Dohyun nodded slowly. You know them. Everyone knows them. Rena's voice was hollow. They are conquerors. They move from system to system, taking what they want. Species that resist are destroyed. Species that surrender are enslaved. They have been expanding their territory for 1,000 years. And now they are moving toward this region of space, Doyen said. Toward your homeworld. Toward ours. Rena felt sick. She had heard stories about the Kreth all her life. Stories of worlds burned to ash. Stories of entire species wiped from existence. The Vellani had always been too far away, too unimportant, to attract their attention. But that was changing. How long? She asked. How long before they reach Vellani space? Based on their speed and direction, perhaps 2 years. Maybe less. 2 years. It was no time at all. Not enough time to build defenses. Not enough time to prepare. Rena looked at Dohyun. The human commander was watching her with those calm eyes, waiting for her to speak. You must understand something, Rena said carefully. The Kreth will come here too, eventually. Your system is young, unaligned, unprotected. You are exactly the kind of target they prefer. They will come to conquer you or conscript you into their armies. We know, Dohyun said. Rena blinked. You know? How do you know? Because they have already contacted us. Dohyun touched another control. A recording began to play. The voice was deep and cold, translated into human language. Species of Earth, You have been noticed by the Crest Dominion. You will prepare for inspection. You will submit to our authority. Resistance will result in extinction. This is your only warning." The recording ended. Rena stared at the human commander. "They sent you this when?" "6 months ago. And you did not run? You did not try to hide." Do-hyun smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had accepted a difficult truth and decided to face it. "Humans do not run," he said. "Not from this. Not from anything." He stood and walked to the window. Below, the earth turned slowly blue and green and beautiful. When we received that message, our world leaders gathered. They argued for many days. Some wanted to surrender, to accept Kreth rule and hope for the best. Some wanted to hide, to go silent and hope the Kreth would forget about us. What did you decide? Do-hyun turned to face her. "We decided to fight. Not today, not tomorrow, but when the time comes, we will fight." Rena could not believe what she was hearing. "You cannot fight the Kreth. They have hundreds of warships. They have weapons that can destroy planets. You are young. You are alone." "We are young, yes," Do-hyun agreed. "But we are not alone. Not anymore." He touched the table again. The display changed to show something new. Ship designs, weapon systems, defense plans, alliance proposals. For the past 6 months, we have been preparing. We have been building ships in secret. We have been developing new weapons. And we have been reaching out to other species, other worlds that fear the Kreth. Rena studied the display. The ships were impressive, different from anything she had seen before. The weapons were creative, designed to exploit weaknesses that even the Volani had not considered. "You have been busy," she said quietly. "We have, but we need more time. More allies. More information about the Kreth and their plans." Do-hyun sat down across from her again. His eyes were intense now, focused entirely on her. "Captain Rena, I am going to ask you something. You are free to refuse. You owe us nothing. But I am going to ask anyway." Rena straightened in her seat. "Ask. Go back to your people. Tell them what you have seen here. Tell them about us, about our plans, about our willingness to fight. And if your leaders are interested in standing together against the Kreth, tell them to contact us." He slid a small data chip across the table. "This is our long-range communication frequency. It is encrypted. The Kreth cannot intercept it. If you hear anything about their movements, their plans, their weaknesses, we want to know." Rena picked up the chip. It was small and light, but it felt heavy in her hand. "You are asking me to bring my people into a war. I am asking you to give them a choice," Do-hyun said. "A choice between standing alone and standing together. Between surrendering to the Kreth and fighting for their freedom." Rena thought about her homeworld, her family, the millions of Volani who had no idea what was coming. "Why?" she asked. "Why risk everything to help strangers? Why share your secrets with people you just met?" Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke softly. "Because 2 days ago, a damaged ship limped into our system. The captain could have tried to reach somewhere else, somewhere safer. Instead, she came to us, knowing we might be hostile, knowing we might turn her away. She took a chance on strangers." He looked at Rena with something like respect. "I would like to return the favor." Rena closed her hand around the data chip. Something was growing in her chest. Something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. "I will deliver your message," she said. "And I will tell my people what I have seen. Humans who help strangers. Humans who improve engines. Humans who share their coffee." She stood and extended one of her 4 hands in the human gesture she had learned. "Humans who do not run. Do-hyun took her hand and shook it. "We will be waiting, Captain. And we will be ready." 2 years passed. Captain Rena was no longer a captain. She was Admiral Rena now, commander of the Volani Defense Fleet. It was not a large fleet. 50 ships, most of them converted trading vessels. But they were ready to fight. After returning home, Rena had spoken to the Volani Council. She had told them about Earth, about the humans, about the coming storm. Some council members had not believed her. Some had called her a fool. But enough of them had listened. The Volani began to prepare. They built weapons. They trained soldiers. They reached out to other species who feared the Kreth, and they stayed in contact with Earth, sharing information, coordinating plans. For 2 years. They waited. Then the Kreth came. The attack began at dawn, local time. 200 Kreth warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above Volani Prime. They were massive vessels, black and angular, covered in weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Each ship was the size of a small city, and together they blocked out the stars. A message was broadcast to the entire planet. People of Volani, the Kreth Dominion claims this world. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 1 hour to comply. Admiral Rena stood on the bridge of her flagship, the New Dawn. Around her, officers worked frantically at their stations. On the main screen, she could see the Kreth fleet, a wall of death hanging in space. 50 ships against 200. The math was simple. The math was terrible. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "the Kreth are demanding a response." Rena took a deep breath. "Tell them we refuse. Tell them the Volani will not surrender. Not today. Not ever." The message was sent. The Kreth response was immediate. The first Volani ship exploded in a ball of fire. The battle had begun. For 3 hours, the Volani fought. They were brave. They were determined. But they were losing. Ship after ship fell to the Kreth weapons. The defensive lines broke. The orbital stations burned. On the bridge of the New Dawn, Rena watched her fleet die. "Admiral," Korath said. He was her second officer still, loyal after all these years. "We cannot win this fight. We must retreat. Save what ships we can." Rena knew he was right. But retreat meant abandoning the planet. Retreat meant leaving millions of Volani to Kreth slavery. She could not do it. She would not do it. "No," she said. "We stay. We fight until the end." Korath did not argue. He simply nodded and returned to his station. Rena thought about Earth, about Do-hyun and his promises, about Yuna and her tools, about Jiwoo and her coffee. She had sent them a message when the Kreth appeared. A desperate call for help, but Earth was far away. Too far. The humans could not reach them in time. She was alone. "Admiral!" The sensor officer suddenly shouted. "Something is happening. There is a... I do not understand. The readings make no sense." On the main screen, space itself seemed to tear open. A hole appeared in the darkness, glowing with strange light. Then another hole. Then another. Dozens of them, hundreds, spreading across the battlefield. Like flowers blooming. And through those holes came ships. Human ships. They were different from the vessels. Rena remembered. Larger, faster, covered in weapons that pulsed with power. They poured through the dimensional gates in perfect formation. Hundreds of them, filling the space between the Volani and the Kreth. The lead ship broadcast on all frequencies. The voice was clear and strong. "This is Fleet Commander Sunho of the United Earth Defense Force. Kreth Dominion vessels. You are ordered to stand down immediately. This system is under the protection of the Earth Alliance." The Kreth commander laughed. His voice was cruel and confident. "Humans, we have heard of you. You are children playing with toys. Your threat means nothing. Perhaps, Sunho replied. But we did not come alone. More gates opened. More ships arrived. But these were not human vessels. Rena recognized some of them. Tarathi cruisers, painted in bright colors. Silken carriers, elegant and deadly. And others she did not know, species from across the galaxy who had answered the call. An alliance fleet, built in secret over 2 years, waiting for this moment. The Kreth Dominion has terrorized this galaxy for 1,000 years, Sunho continued. Today, that ends. This is your last chance. Stand down or be destroyed. Silence on the communication channel. Then the Kreth commander gave his answer. Attack. The Kreth fleet opened fire. The battle exploded into chaos. But this time, the outcome was different. The human ships moved with impossible speed, dodging Kreth weapons and returning fire with devastating accuracy. Their new technology, developed in secret, tore through Kreth shields like paper. Alliance vessels coordinated perfectly, each species using their strengths to cover each other's weaknesses. Rena watched in amazement as a Kreth battleship, a vessel that had destroyed 3 Valani cruisers, was cut apart by a single human destroyer. She saw Silken fighters swarm around Kreth carriers, overwhelming their defenses. She saw Tarathi heavy ships punch holes in the enemy formation. Admiral, Korath said, his voice filled with wonder. They came. They actually came. Yes, Rena whispered. They did. A new communication signal appeared on her console. She accepted it, and a familiar face appeared on screen. It was Yuna. She was older now, with a few gray hairs and new lines on her face. But her smile was the same. Admiral Rena, good to see you again. Sorry, we are late. Traffic was terrible. Rena laughed. It was a strange sound in the middle of battle, but she could not help it. You are not late. You are exactly on time. Wow, we should probably help finish this fight before we catch up. My ship is the Hala. We are moving to support your fleet. Try to keep up. The communication ended. On the screen, Rena saw the human battleship Hala surge forward, its weapons blazing. She turned to her crew. All ships, follow the humans. It is time to fight back. The Valani fleet, battered but not broken, joined the attack. And for the first time in the battle, for the first time in her life, Admiral Rena felt something she had never expected to feel in the presence of the K-or-Eat. Victory. The Battle of Valani Prime lasted 19 hours. 19 hours of fire and death. 19 hours of ships exploding and people dying. 19 hours that would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Rena fought alongside the humans through every moment of it. She watched them do impossible things. She watched them refuse to give up even when they were wounded. She watched them laugh in the face of death, make jokes during combat, and cheer every time an enemy ship fell. They were insane. They were wonderful. By the end, the Kreth fleet was shattered. 140 of their 200 ships were destroyed or disabled. The survivors tried to retreat, but the Alliance fleet cut off their escape routes. The Kreth flagship, a massive vessel called the Conqueror's Fist, was surrounded and boarded. Rena learned later what happened during that boarding action. Jiwoo led the strike team. The cheerful supply officer from Station Baekdu had become something else over the past 2 years. She was a soldier now, hard and skilled, commander of the human special forces unit called the Ghost Tigers. Her team cut through the Kreth defenders with terrible efficiency. They moved through the corridors of the flagship like shadows, neutralizing enemy soldiers before they could react. When they reached the command center, the Kreth admiral was waiting with his personal guard. The fight lasted less than 3 minutes. When it was over, Jiwoo stood over the captured Kreth commander, her weapon pointed at his head. "Your war is over," she told him. "Spread the word to your masters." The galaxy is no longer afraid of you. Meanwhile, on the burning stations and crippled ships, Taiho worked. He had organized medical teams from every species in the Alliance, and they moved across the battlefield treating the wounded. It did not matter if the injured were Volani, human, Tarathi, or even Kreth. If they were hurt, Taiho's teams helped them. Why? A wounded Kreth soldier asked as Taiho bandaged his injuries. Why help me? I am your enemy. You are my enemy, Taiho said calmly. Now you are my patient. There is a difference. The Kreth did not understand, but he accepted the help anyway. On the Hala, Yuna was performing miracles. The ship had taken heavy damage during the battle, and by all rights, it should have been dead in space. But Yuna refused to let it die. She crawled through burning corridors, rewired damaged systems, and jury-rigged solutions that should not have worked but somehow did. At one point, the main weapon array lost power. Without it, the Hala could not fight. Yuna looked at the ruined power conduits and made a decision. Connect the weapon array to the coffee machine power supply, she ordered. Her engineers stared at her. The coffee machine? It has its own dedicated reactor. We take our coffee very seriously. Now do it? They did it. The weapons came back online. The Hala continued to fight. When the battle finally ended, the Alliance fleet gathered in orbit above Velani Prime. The planet was safe. The people were free, and something new had been born in the darkness between stars. Admiral Rena requested permission to come aboard the human command ship, the Soul. When she arrived, she found Fleet Commander Sunho waiting for her in the observation lounge. He looked tired. They all looked tired, but he smiled when he saw her. Admiral Rena, it is good to see you again. Commander Sunho? Rena looked at the man who had brought salvation to her people. I do not know how to thank you. Then do not thank me. Thank your past self. Rena did not understand. What do you mean? Sunho walked to the window. Below, the damaged ships of the Alliance fleet floated in formation. Rescue shuttles moved between them, carrying survivors. 2 years ago, you warned us about the Kreth. You could have run. You could have saved yourself and left us ignorant. Instead, you stopped to help strangers prepare for a war that might never come. He turned to face her. That warning gave us time. Time to build these ships. Time to develop new weapons. Time to find allies who shared our vision. He smiled. You saved us first, Admiral. We just returned the favor. Rena felt something warm in her chest. It took her a moment to recognize it. Pride. So what happens now? She asked. Now we rebuild. We heal our wounded. We bury our dead. Sunho paused. And then we finish what we started. Finish? The Kreth Dominion still exists. They still hold hundreds of conquered worlds. Billions of enslaved people. His voice grew hard. That cannot continue. Rena stared at him. You want to attack the Kreth homeworld? Not attack. Liberate. Sunho pulled out a datapad and showed her a map. Every species they have conquered. Every world they have enslaved. We are going to free them all. It was an impossible goal. The Kreth Dominion was vast, ancient, powerful. Even after today's defeat, they still had thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. But Rena had learned something important about humans. They did not care about impossible. That will take years, she said. Decades, perhaps. Yes, it will be hard. We will lose people. We will face setbacks. Sunho put down the datapad. But we will not stop. Humans do not stop. Not until the job is done. The door opened and familiar faces entered the room. Yuna, covered in engine grease, but grinning. Taiho, exhausted but peaceful. Jiwoo, still in her combat armor, but carrying a tray of coffee cups. I thought we could all use a drink, Jiwoo said. It has been a long day. She handed cups to everyone. Rena took hers gratefully. The smell was wonderful. The taste was better. This is my 5th cup today, Rena admitted. Only 5? Yuna laughed. I've had 12. Taiho has had 8. 9, Taiho corrected. I had one during surgery. Rena shook her head in amazement. Your species is terrifying. Thank you, Jiwoo said cheerfully. We try. They stood together at the window, watching the sunset paint Volani Prime in colors of gold and pink. The battle was over. The war was just beginning. But for this moment, they could rest. What will you call it? Rena asked. This alliance we have built. Sunho considered the question. We were thinking about that. Something that shows we stand together. That we protect each other. The Coalition of Free Worlds, Yuna suggested. The Galactic Defense Union, Taiho offered. The Coffee Drinkers Association, Jiwoo said. Everyone looked at her. She shrugged. Just an idea. Rena smiled. Whatever you call it, I want my people to be part of it. We started this journey as strangers. We became allies. Now we are something more. She raised her coffee cup. We are friends. The humans raised their cups in return. Outside the window, the first stars of evening began to appear. A new night was falling on Volani Prime. A new chapter was beginning for the galaxy. And somewhere in the darkness, other species were hearing the story of what happened here. The story of humans who came to help strangers. The story of an alliance that stood against tyranny. The story of hope. The Kreth Dominion had ruled through fear for 1,000 years. But fear was just a shadow. And shadows could not survive the dawn.